Alright, bro. I'll show you how I modify my timing chain tensioners for two-step. So, you get the covers off. I just got these rested here for now. That's going to be probably the most tedious part of the whole ordeal, is pulling the covers. These are your timing chain tensioners. You got one here and one here. Now, there's this little ratcheting mechanism right there that ratchets out over time as the chain and the guide, or the chain stretches and the guides wear. That way it always keeps constant tension. But when you're using two-step, it kind of makes all this jostle, and it tricks that tensioner ratchet mechanism into thinking that, you know, the chain's stretched out or the guides are worn, and it ratchets out. And then when you're done with the two-step, this is stuck in the tightest position it can be in, making the chain excessively tight, wearing the guides, stretching the chain, or damaging that front cam journal, which you can't replace or fix. If you damage that, you got to replace your heads. So what you're going to want to do is get a couple zip ties here, and you're going to want to zip tie across around both of these guides to hold these together. And give me a second and I'll throw that on. So it should look something like that. And this is going to, again, prevent this guide from moving, because the cam's under tension from the valve springs. So if you just were to remove that without holding these guides together, odds are the cam would end up popping and jumping timing. So very important to make sure these are held together pretty tight, or as tight as you can get it, with zip ties while you do this. So the next step would be to unbolt the tensioner and work the tensioner out. So it's just two 10mm bolts. For the sake of the video, we'll use the gun, but I don't recommend it. See if I can do it with one hand here. Set those aside, and then you're going to want to kind of push toward the guide and tilt it out. Bam. So as you see, I got the tensioner out, and the guides are being held in place. So don't mess with the motor while you do this, and only do one tensioner at a time. But now we take the tensioner to the workbench to do the part that needs to be done. Alright, so I got the camera all set up weird, and everything's kind of backwards to me, but everything should be the same for the video. So this is the ratcheting mechanism here. It's spring loaded. So this, you're going to want to pull out this right here, which is the thing with the teeth I was talking about. In order to do so, inside here, you take a pick or a little screwdriver and you push that down, and you can slide it out. Now this is going to try to separate on you, which is fine. If it does fall apart, just put it back together, but keep it together as good as possible and set it aside for now. Now we have the timing tensioner ratchet pin, and this is what needs to be modified. This is what the tensioner looks like when you pull it apart. So you got the cup and then the spring. So the spring is there to assist it when there's no oil pressure, but the way this works is oil pressure goes into it and pushes on this piston. So you don't truly have proper timing chain tension unless you have oil pressure. So what a lot of people end up doing is there is a washer or a puck that you can purchase that slides over this, and it basically just extends the length of this. So if you were to lose oil pressure, it will keep proper timing chain tension, but it's not necessary in order to run two-step. It's just a little extra bonus thing you can do, but you can totally do this the free way without adding that washer in there. But we'll set that aside, and I'll show you how to modify this. So you're going to want to huck it in your vise here. Alright, and you can use one of these three styles of tools. Doesn't really matter what tool you use, as long as it serves the same function to grind the teeth. So you got a Dremel, an electric Dremel. You use a grinding stone or a cut-off wheel type bit for it. You can use your air die grinder with a cut-off wheel, or you can use an electric one. Just be careful, go slow, and grind those teeth down. Alright, so on the tensioner here, you got all these little teeth. So you're going to go from this side, and you're going to count the teeth. Where's my pick here? You're going to count the teeth here. Come on, focus. Yes, no, maybe, there we go. So you're going to want to go 1, 2, 3, 4. So those are the ones you want to save. So everything after the 4th ratchet needs to be cut down and level with this flat spot here. So you want to knock these teeth down and try to get it as flat and level to the flat spot here. So again, it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. Those teeth you're saving on the 5th tooth over. So again, 1, 2, 3, 4. Come on, there we go. You're saving those. So this tooth over to here needs to be shaved down. Alright, so should look close to this. Come on, focus camera. There we go. So you want to take the cutoff wheel and kind of start at the teeth and just kind of go side to side gently. And slowly work your way down until it's flush with that section I was talking about. Come on, camera, what the heck? So you want to be flush and flat. And then what I like to do when I get the bulk of it with this die grinder is I'll go through with my Dremel and my stone and just kind of clean it up a little bit. It's not necessarily necessary, but it's just something I like to do. So that right there is the modified pin. Now what I like to do with that grindstone is mainly just clean up any burrs on the edges, just to make sure nothing catches. So I just go and I kind of knock it down just a little bit, just to make sure. As you can tell, it's not 100% flat. There's a little bit of a bow into it. Doesn't matter too much. Again, you just need it to stop itself from ratcheting all the way out, but also to be able to still catch itself there. So now we're going to reassemble it. So reassembly is going to be obviously backwards to how we pulled it apart. It's very important to clean everything up. These timing chain tensioners, you don't want any gunk in them. You don't want any metal flakes from cutting, especially to get in here. My workbench isn't the cleanest, but this is also just for show. So you don't want any gunk to get in these. Again, this is just for show, so just have a clean workspace and make sure you don't get any metal or any gunk inside of it or on the piston or anything like that. Little good practice is use some motor oil or some, I like to use assembly lube, and just get everything a slight coating of that just to help everything go back together. You're going to have it apart, so it's going to end up needing it anyways. So slap that in. So it'll take a little bit of force. It's really tight fit because it's designed to hold oil pressure. But once you get it in, you can kind of just slightly hold it. And then you'll take this pin and your pick. You're going to push that little spring-loaded ratchet back in there. And slide that in there. There we go. So now it's held in. Now, as you can see, it can jump and it doesn't ratchet itself. And that's what you want it to do. So now we'll go back into reassembly of the timing chain. Alright, so I'm going to see if I can put this back together with one hand. It'll be a lot easier with two. But the easiest way to kind of get these in is to start with the puck in the tensioner, or in the guide. And then to pull the tensioner down to clear the lip on the head here. and then rock it in like that. Then you're going to want to look in these holes and try to line them up with the actual bolt holes. So the top one will most likely line up perfectly fine. Bam. So we'll see right there. So top one's lined up. We'll slide the bolt in and we'll give it a couple turns. Don't put it all the way in, just enough to hold itself. That way you can rock this one down like that. So you see how it's cockeyed and the bolt hole doesn't line up. You'll rock it down so it lines up. And while you're holding it, you'll slide the bolt in. So I'll do this with one hand. And then we'll give it a couple turns. Now that's started. Then these are going to be tight because they're under tension. To help that out, you can just slightly hold the tensioner down. And then if you slightly hold it down, then there's no tension on it and they should turn free. And just run them all the way down. I would recommend you doing it that way instead of forcing them like I'm going to with the gun. So once you get them ran all the way down, you're going to want to grab your torque wrench. So this is torque wrench right here. And you're going to want to torque them. You're going to want to torque them to 20 foot-pounds. This is the torque wrench. If you don't have one, you definitely should have one. Definitely a 3/8 and a 1/2 inch. 1/2 inch will be like for 100 and higher foot-pounds. And your 3/8 will be for, you know, like 20 to or 10 to 100 foot-pounds typically, depending on what they give you. Mine specifically goes 10 to 100. And then you can even get yourself a 1/4 inch, so you can do all the inch-pound stuff. If you're working on these, there's quite a bit of bolts that are using inch-pounds. So like your guides are going to be inch-pounds. Your tensioners are going to be the lower foot-pounds. But something like head bolts and stuff, you're going to want to use the 1/2 inch one because they're going to be like 100 foot-pounds or 70 foot-pounds plus X amount of degrees. Having that extra length on your wrench is going to be very important. So let me get everything set up. Alrighty, so now you got your torque wrench and it's set to 20 foot-pounds. You're going to go on each one of these bolts and you're going to torque them until you hear it click. Then you're going to go to the other one. Alright, and then you can go ahead and grab a pair of dikes or crimpers or cutters or whatever you want. You can walk up to these and just snip them off, pull them out. And you can go ahead and grab 2 new zip ties and do it on this side. It is a lot of times a lot easier to do the right bank than it is the left bank because you're not fighting the head here as far as putting it together. But what's nice about this side is it'll stop the tensioner from trying to force itself out. So I mean, it does get pretty close, but it's typically not as difficult as this side. Overall though, super easy. Once you get the covers off, you know, it's just what this took me maybe 15 minutes while I'm recording and using one hand. The hardest part's going to be doing the covers and pulling all the covers off. So if you have any questions, just let me know, bro.